quite a surprise to be in the middle of a marsh and there suddenly is a sculpture. I initially thought it was some kind of a trap or a pen or a fish pen or anyway.
You can see anything you want in this work. That's what's fun about it.
Sure. It made me think it was some kind of a Native American fishing structure.
Hi, this is Alexandra Branyon for LTV, Channel 27. I'm here with an incredible environmental artist by the name of Roy Staab. We're standing, literally, in Freshwater Pond, looking out at the beautiful reeds and the blue sky and the osprey nest in the background. A beautiful seagull just flew by and its baby was fed. And Roy was the person who was telling me all about it because he spends his life in nature. Well, Roy, this is a strange place for a piece of sculpture. How did you end up doing sculpture here in Freshwater Pond?
I think it's a perfectly natural place for sculpture. I lived in New York City for a long time. And from New York City, I went out to the nature. And in nature, there was only natural materials to work with, nothing from the city.
So you work with reeds primarily? We're standing in front of these reeds here.
I found the reeds were growing abundantly and not respected. And they were a weed. So I chose them, and these are from last year's growth. And I went, they're growing over back there, and over here, and over there. And no one looks at them. So they belong to the site. And at that time I had no car. I just came, picked the reeds, and I drew out in the sand. This is a sandbar. That's why I'm working here. When I make a work, I drew it with a string, and this is an arc. And then at intervals, I put the reeds in. I put them in about a foot apart, and then I interwove this. And this becomes the piece. So the piece is actually in the air. Now what I'm looking for is, there we have a nice shadow. At certain times of the day there's a great reflection if we don't move. And this piece is supposed to be up here. I just finished it today, so it's a bit low.
The object itself, to me, looks like so many different things, from dance halls to cathedrals. Do you have anything like that in mind when you actually do it? Are you attempting to do anything specific?
This year I was working with geometry that's cut. That's why this is ended in this split. And this area that I'm working on is fits this form.
Yeah.
So I have an arc-like form.
Yes.
And when we go inside, it's a nave form, and that's where we can talk about a cathedral form.
Yes.
Because when you're in, all's above you and all's around you.
Yes.
So it's a sculpture large and linear, and it encompasses all.
I love the idea of going into a sculpture. We can actually do that?
Yeah, you want to?
Great.
Now we have to, in this way. Should I take the mic? Okay. And one more. No. Yeah. There we are. Got it? Now this is a small piece that
this is great.
The piece behind is larger, but look, it comes around.
It's so playful. It's just wonderful. And we've got the periwinkles on the ground. So do you use a compass or anything to do something like this? How do you get the geometric proportions the way you want them?
I do use a compass in a sense. I use in this was a long piece of cord, and I anchored one end, and the other end I drew with. So the outer circle is a smaller arc actually, and the inner almond shape, if you want to say it, is the center is way out there, and the other center is way over there, and so it's cut, and these are parts, these are arcs of a larger circle. So I use a tool to draw because I want it perfect as I can get in nature. And this is easy because you just use it as a compass guide. And let's try moving this way. Say here. Okay. It's the same measurement. Here we are. And I'll start on the top. Oh, seashell.
Where do you get all these reeds?
I have to pick some more anyhow. Let's go and get some.
Good.
Come on. This is my gallery, this is my museum.
Yes.
Because in a museum, you look at a piece and you walk on. And here we're in nature, it takes a bit more time. You have to sit and you have to feel it. Now look at the reflections here, how beautiful it is. That's talking about geometry in nature. And geometry is my mind. I have a very
Yes.
abstract mind in putting things together and organizing it. And it belongs in this site, it fits the area.
It's so interesting because most artists leave something behind. That's what they want to do. I guess from insecurity or whatever, most art is created, you know, in hopes of leaving something behind for posterity or whatever, a classic, you know.
Those are objects.
Yes.
And this is an object too, but an object doesn't always. We live in a society where things are purchased and they put on the wall and you forgot them.
Yes.
And this is something that's to be seen and not to be put on a wall, just to be experienced and remembered. Remembered is important about a work. This is environmental site sculpture. It belongs to the site. It belongs to this environment. It belongs to the sun. It belongs to us when we come here. When you came here, you had to walk up this little stream.
Yes, beautiful.
That put you in tune to where we are. And it put all those other things, all those other problems away out of your mind. So we have Buddhism, we have an empty mind for a moment.
Yes. That's what it made me think of. Yes. So have you had some background in this kind of work? Is there a movement of sorts? Is there anyone else doing this? I've never experienced this myself.
I got out of art school in the 60s.
Yeah.
Nothing like this ever happened.
And do you usually work with these materials, or do you branch out into other things? You know, like these are reeds, or do you do other things?
I like the reed because I can get nice straight lines or bent lines. But I have used seaweed. I've just did line directly in the sand and photographed it from the cliff. And that only lasted 6 hours between the tides. So the work is temporary, but the work is monumental in size.
Yes.
And also very transitory. And that's wonderful. It's just an experience to pass through.
Now, what would you say is your ideal for this piece of sculpture? The water a certain way, the tide a certain way? What would it be?
Oh, that's wonderful. A wonderful question. I like it when the tide's in, when it's very still, when the sun is low, either sunrise or sunset, and then the reflection plays. The reflection becomes part of the work. That if you look at the sun in the right way, it's all together. Nature is all together with my work. My work is part of the site. I just try, and we go back. We go back to a basic thing. This is very primitive. This is a woven line. I get them wet, like any basket maker. You get their materials wet, so they bend better. Now I'll weave a nice line in through here. Part is right at the beginning, the first weaving line. So we weave in and out, in and out, and it's going to fall. And the second line, now we just do it opposite. And we Pull it up. These are nice reeds, nice and high. There we go. And now we go fast. There it is. Oh, that was not so long. It's going to stay. Wait, it's not going to stay. One more. That's why I like long reeds. Here's a nice long one. These are all used up.
If you were stranded on a desert island, could you build a little hut using these principles?
I would make a sign saying SOS, come and save me.
So Robinson Crusoe didn't do this?
No, he was kind of a fool. I would have done this right away. This is actually a basic structure, a way of building a house.
It's wonderful.
We have a wall already, and let's see, we're this way, okay? Now I got part of the line up, so now I'm going to augment it one each time.
Oh, so you're extending the line at this point.
Mm-hmm. Just one at a time. So now what I do after this, I weave back so I have a nice density of line, and then I bind it with string.
I so admire that you could find this incredible location. I've lived here a while. I've never been to this particular spot. How did you find it?